Welcome to the Make Me Better podcast. Hey everybody, I'm Misty Rooks, and this is the Make Me Better podcast. If this is your first time joining us, I want to let you know the goal of the Make Me Better podcast is to encourage you and inspire you to become a better version of yourself than you were before. Now, how do we do this? Everybody faces a battle at some point in life, and it's up to you to decide if you will just go through it or if you want to grow through it. And the way we do that is we let God work on us, reveal things to us, and let Him strengthen our character and develop things in us during those hard times. And I like to share stories of people who did exactly that. So it's time to introduce today's guest to you, Candice Ables. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Candice, I'm so glad that you're here. I have seen Candice firsthand and seen how she has grown and been made better because of some things that she has gone through. And I am so excited to have her here today. She's really sharing a story that will be the first of its kind on the podcast today. So, Candice, where do you want to get started in your story?
I think it's really important to get started at the beginning of the end. And so I'll just paint a picture. I'm a visual person and I work better that way. So imagine 89 pounds.
Wow.
As an adult.
Okay.
Exposed bones, chest bones, shoulder blades, malnourished, sitting in a hospital bed, alone. I was in Athens, Georgia. I had been in the hospital probably around a month at this time. I was recently removed from ICU and put into a regular room at this point, still on oxygen. I was diagnosed with gangrene in both of my lungs, kidney failure, respiratory failure, and sepsis.
Wow. Okay. So that in itself is enough right there. You were put through the ringer. How did you get here? Why were you alone? Why were all these things going on in your body?
So at that time, I was a heavy opiate user. I was an intravenous heroin user, and it come as a result of the lifestyle that I was living. I wasn't taking care of myself. Everything I felt I needed to do was to get high. You know, I didn't take care of my physical health. I didn't take care of my mental health. I was alone. It was during COVID. And so they weren't allowing anybody to come to the hospital. But with that being said, I don't even know that at that point I would have even had any visitors, other than my parents. My children weren't talking to me. My children didn't even know that I was in the hospital at that point. I think only my grandpa and my mom and stepdad knew that I was there. So.
Okay, now everybody's probably thinking, a beautiful young lady like you, how did you get here? How did you like the heroin? Why would you, and how did you start using heroin?
So I grew up pretty normal, but when I was 13, my mother, she started her addiction. My father was always an alcoholic, and so he wasn't really a part of my life. But my mother, she was in addiction, and so that kind of introduced me to the lifestyle. At that time, I had no interest whatsoever in getting high, and it's not like you could, if you told me when I was 13 years old that at the age of 30, that would be my life, I would look you in your eyes and tell you that you were a liar, because I was not going to be that way.
Yeah.
I had no plans on becoming a drug addict.
Yeah, that's
whatsoever.
not going to happen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that time, though, when you started, was your mom aware? I mean, was it something y'all did together, or was it still like you hid it from her because you knew you shouldn't, but she did?
So initially, the first time I ever got high was with my sister. And so my sister told my mom, and then it just kind of became something that we all did together.
Wow.
I remember my dad being back in the picture. My mom and my dad weren't together, but I remember there being a time where we were back together. I was living with my aunt this time. Detox took me away from my mom. So I was living with my aunt, and that gave me an opportunity to really develop a relationship with my mom, with my sister, with my dad. And so it seemed normal, even though it wasn't.
Mm. Okay, so what led you to being in the shape that you were in and being in the hospital, or how many years went by before you ended up there?
So from the age of 14, all the way until I was 20, it was in and out dabbling. There was no addiction, so to say, because there weren't any consequences from the use in itself.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 20, I had back surgery. And so that was access to prescriptions. And so I took the prescriptions that the doctor gave me because I believed that if it came from a doctor, it was okay that I took them. I didn't really consider the fact that where it said take one every 4 to 6 hours, I was taking two every 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know at that point if I was even in any physical pain anymore. I just took them out of habit.
Right.
And so one morning I woke up and I didn't have any. And I felt like I had the flu. I felt so sick. I had a doctor's appointment that afternoon, got the prescription refilled, took it, and instantly felt better.
Yeah.
And so it was like my brain automatically told myself, oh my gosh, you have to take these. There's no way that you can stop now because remember how bad you felt.
Yeah.
And so I clung to that constant fear that if I didn't use, then I was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And so I allowed that to just fuel a 10-year addiction that just progressively got worse.
Yeah.
So it went from opioids to heroin.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And that's a big jump. And it may not seem like it to you, but I guess probably people who are listening who have never done any of that, it's like, oh my goodness, how do you get heroin? Where do because you see it in movies and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And you see how it's portrayed in movies, and we don't know if that is real life or not. So what was it like? Was it like a daily use? Was it recreational?
It was multiple times a day. It wasn't just, it was, if I was sad, I would use. If I was happy, I would use. If I was high, I would use. If I was sick, I would use. Like that was, I feel as though, and I know this is probably not even like scientifically capable, but I probably used more than I ate or more than I felt like I breathed, And so like that was just my main focus. Like, how much can I use every day?
Yeah. Because when you're coming down from it,
yeah,
what does it feel like?
It almost feels like having a stomach virus mixed with the flu, mixed with being hit by a train, mixed with doing a hardcore P90X workout. Your entire body is sore. Your brain hurts. Your heart hurts. You're sweating, but you're cold. It's terrible.
Yeah. So, addiction or sin of any kind is fun for a little while.
Yeah.
Until it owns you.
Yeah. And it did.
Yeah.
It owned me.
Yeah. So that's how you ended up in the hospital, pretty much on your deathbed.
Yeah.
Yeah. During COVID, so you were alone. So then how did that recovery go? Did you stop using right then, or did you go back?
Yeah. So because it was COVID, when I was in the hospital, my withdrawal was managed through methadone. But because COVID was a thing, I couldn't just go to a clinic and get methadone.
Yeah.
So once I was released from the hospital, it was kind of like, figure it out. And so I didn't have enough sobriety, nor at that point, I don't even think that I was willing to look for the sobriety or to do anything different. So I did. I went back out and I continued to use, which got worse. After when I was released from the hospital, I think I attempted, and when I say attempted, I went and then decided like that's not what I was going to do. My mom even drove 3.5 hours one morning to pick me up, to drive me another 1.5 hours to Detox, for me to tell her as soon as we got there that I wasn't staying. And so,
So at this point, your mom was clean.
yes, my mom,
Okay.
she has 13 years sobriety now.
Yay.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
she's doing a lot
That's
better.
amazing.
She has her own really, really powerful recovery story. So, but yeah, just chaotic. So I left the detox, and she was furious, naturally so.
Uh-huh.
And then she dropped me back. I was staying with my grandparents, or my grandpa at this point, but not for long. You know, he eventually got fed up with my chaotic use and the lies and all of the things that I was doing. And so at that point, I just became homeless. I didn't even have a car. So I guess you would call me a couch surfer, except most of the houses didn't even have couches. So.
Wow. So I'm gonna really like pick your brain here, okay? Because if you don't know, you don't know. So I'm just gonna ask for everybody, okay? During the time that you were using so heavily, did you work? What did you do to earn money? How did you get money to buy your supply? And then also, did you ever think, this is just what I'll do forever, or did you have something deep down inside that was like, I want a career, I want a family, I want something different than this?
No, I did not work. So basically, I relied on other people to get drugs from. So I would hang around other people who I knew either liked me or felt sorry for me enough to use with me. And there was even a point where I became the dealer myself.
Mm.
And so I would have other people who would buy from me at a price higher than what I paid for it. That way I would still have money, and then I would still have drugs to use myself. But like I said earlier, I used so much that it's like a general ledger for those that know finances. My deposits were less than my withdrawals.
Yeah.
And I withdrew way more than I ever had the ability to deposit.
That's so crazy. And then did you ever get arrested or in any trouble, any drug charges, anything like that?
Yes. So I was arrested from a period of the time I was 21 to the time I was 30. I think I've been arrested probably 9 total times. Most of them felonies, only one misdemeanor. It was a DUI, and that was right after I was discharged from the hospital.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the good part. Okay. Where did it turn around?
Well, so December 18th of 2020, I had used too much. I actually used, in addition to heroin, I had also used Klonopin, which is kind of like a sedative. And so that spiraled into an overdose. And I was in a Walmart parking lot in Gainesville, Georgia, and I was revived, and I saw deputies, I saw law enforcement officers, I saw firemen, ambulance, like a crowd of surrounded people. And I didn't even know what was going on. And so they told me that someone had called about what looked like a dead body due to the fact that I wasn't laid back sleeping. I was hunched over, in the front seat. And so they asked if there were any drugs in the car, and I was always honest. Anytime that I ever had any type of interaction with law enforcement and they asked me that question, do you have any drugs in the car, or do you have any drugs on your person? My answer was always yes, because I felt like I knew that if they could save me and take me away from that I would have an opportunity to get sober. And so I instantly, yes, I do. I told them exactly where it was. And so they arrested me and they took me to jail. And I was there probably 4 days, and I went before the judge, and the judge says, okay, I'm ordering you to drug court. You'll be out next Friday. And I said, absolutely not, Your Honor. I said, I need Jesus. I don't need drug court, because I knew that only 5 days in jail and then getting back out on the street, I knew exactly where I was going to go. I was going to be released right back around the same people.
Exactly.
And there was no hope if I did that.
Exactly. So, what did the judge say when you said that?
He was a little taken aback. I don't think he understood what I meant by that, because he vividly told me, you will be out next Friday if you choose drug court. And I told him, I said, if you let me out, I know where I'm going to go. And it won't be to jail. I will die if you let me back out. And so he agreed. He told me that I could find a treatment center, but it had to be one that they approved. And so that's where Hand Up comes in play. I spoke with my mom. At that time, she was like volunteering for Hand Up. And so I asked her, I said, do you think that Rex will let me go to Hand Up? And I knew that my mom wanted me to go, but I also knew that she didn't want them to say yes because of her.
Yes.
She wanted me to get into Hand Up because that's where God wanted
Right.
me and that's where Rex wanted me.
Right.
And so
you had to be ready for that.
And I had to be ready for that. Yeah. And I felt like I knew that I was ready, but I also knew that there were going to be moments where I wasn't going to be ready, but I was prepared to deal with that, if that makes sense. So I had an interview with Rex. I called him, and to hear Rex say that I had all the right answers to his questions. I vividly remember our conversation. He asked me, where was Jesus? And I told him that he was in my heart. And he also asked me where I saw myself. And this is so crazy. I don't think that I've ever said this before, but I told Rex that I saw myself singing on the praise team at Trenton Ministry Center. Yeah, and so, that's just like for someone who has only been in jail 2 weeks, and still suffering from withdrawal symptoms from heroin, like for that to be the goal that I had, that was just, the Bible says to speak of things as though they are, and I knew that I had a greater purpose than what I was doing, but I also didn't believe that I could get it because of everything that I had done.
Right.
So
yeah, that is so true for I think people who have been through addiction, especially. I think a lot of Christians, but I feel like especially people who have been through addiction, just because of my husband and the work that we've done and talking to him, it's like there's always some level of guilt or shame.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't deserve this, I'm not worthy, or I can't because of my past, when in fact God says it's because of that. Yeah, it is because of your past.
Yeah.
But it is because of it that now, you're in a position where, look at Paul. He persecuted people in the church, and it was because of that very thing that he was able to have such compassion and love for people when God said, look, I'm going to take what you were, and if you'll say yes, I'll make you into what I designed you to be. But if you don't say yes to it, you're not going to get there.
Yeah.
So, sometimes we feel like we're not worthy, or we're disqualified.
Yeah.
I guess we've disqualified ourselves because of the things that we've done. And it's like, I think God's laughing at us like,
yes,
no, it's absolutely because of the things that you have done, the way that you have managed your own life, the choices that you have made without me prove that you need me. So this is why, yes, absolutely, you are able to do these things because everybody can see now it's because of me through you, because you couldn't do it on your own.
No.
Look what you did on your own.
I was a mess. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get into the program.
Yes.
All right. And let's just tell everybody a little bit. If you are not from this local area, if you're listening from afar, a Hand Up Ministries is a 12-month program. There's facilities for men and women.
Yes.
It's a rehabilitation, but it's more than that.
Yes.
It's really to give you a hand up and get you back on your feet. There's so many things that you learn in the program. So it's not just like a halfway house or something. You get like healthy lifestyle, financial help,
parenting classes,
yes. And you get help, you get to work, and you get help paying off your fines and things like that. And with court stuff. So anything else to add about that?
One of the even greater aspects of it is for most people that don't know, which I'm sure everyone does know, that there is a lot of like dental related consequences that come with drug use. And so Hand Up has also partnered with other places in the area. And so like I've seen so many women get their joy and their confidence back because they're getting their teeth fixed. And I know that that seems very small and like minute, but like that's like one of the first things that people notice, you know, or that can also tell your life story before you even have an opportunity to say what you've been through is your smile. Yeah. And so that's another really good aspect. You know, it's like sponsors have come alongside to help. They've found like dental clinics that have helped. So it's so much more than just, okay, here's a bed, get sober, be productive, go to work, get your kids back, see you later.
Yeah. Kind of like do your time.
Basically.
But like, you know, finish your time here and then we're done with you. And this place is different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a family.
Yeah.
So we were just at Celebrate Recovery 11-year anniversary, and I heard Candice speak with her husband on stage and just talking about how it is a family and such a support system. Even when you get out of the program, there's a follow-up, like a 90-day or something follow-up. When you get out, and it's amazing to see the families that have been restored, people getting their driver's license, all sorts of restoration happening in all areas of life there. So, you know, you were earlier on, I feel like, in the program.
Yeah, I was at the actual Hope House. I think the last 3 months of while I was in the program, so I was in the house on Highway 11. So
yeah. So that was early on, wasn't it? Okay, because now there is a cafe.
Yes.
Where the female participants have the opportunity to work, and that's where some of the offices are, and it's where the women are housed, right? But before that, there was just a little house with like 3 bedrooms. And you were a part of that. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the program, but let's get back to you. Okay, so it's a 12-month program. I know a lot of people are scared of that. They will not say yes to go into something like that because a year sounds so scary. Yeah. But if you think about it, you lived in addiction a lot longer than that, right? So really it's kind of like, what is 1 year compared to this, you know, decade that I've lived like this? So how do you explain this? You lived in addiction for 10 years and then it only took 1 year to turn your life around.
That is probably the hardest question. How can I do 12 months? But what is 12 months to the rest of your life?
Yes.
And so when I completed the program and I got out after the 12 months, that's when the hard work started. And so I feel like it was easy for me to do good in the program because I had people to hold me accountable. I had a schedule that I had to follow. I knew where I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be at church. I was supposed to be at CR. I was supposed to do all of these things, and I knew that. And then when I got out of the program, I knew it was going to be harder because that's when the enemy will really get into your head and he'll say, you did your 12 months. You know, you're good. You served your time. Yeah. And so I clung the hardest in those moments. I made sure I went to church. I made sure I went to CR. Yeah. I made sure that I stayed around my support group. I think I even went to the Hope House several days after I got out, just kind of like, hey guys. Yeah. You know, I desperately felt like I needed someone to hold me accountable. And Jesus had to show me that I was mature enough to hold my own self accountable. And so that's what I did. And it's still like, even in December of this year, I'll have 6 years. And there are still moments daily where I'm having to hold myself accountable. And it's even like, we can even go back to the principles of Celebrate Recovery to continue to take personal inventory And when you're wrong,
Yeah.
promptly admit it, because I feel like in those moments, when you don't promptly admit it, you begin to feel like, oh, well, I can do whatever I want. I don't have this authoritative program hanging over my head anymore. I
Right.
can not go to church when I don't feel like it, or I can stop doing the things that people rely on me to do because I don't have to do it. I choose to do it, And so like there's this saying that we say a lot in the program, and I even like not only try to verbalize this to the kids that I work with, but like model this. I get to. I don't have to.
Uh-huh.
I get to go to church.
Yes.
I get to go to CR. I get
Yes.
to go to work because like there was a time I didn't get those opportunities because of the choices that I had made. And so it's just a completely different dynamic.
Yeah. So you had to come to realize that you discipline yourself, you keep yourself in check. And I've heard somebody say this before, like you make yourself suffer or you make everybody else suffer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you finally realize I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm the one. It's not going to be my kids, my parents, my boss, or whoever making me. They can't do it for me. They can't even be motivation enough for me to do it and sustain it. It has to be me, and it has to be my convictions, and it has to be my relationship with God. Like, because he gives us free will too.
Yes.
He's
Yes,
going to
he
let
does.
us do what we want. But he's always there with open arms when we're ready to turn.
Yes.
And come back, and he will help us. He will give you strength when you are weak, and he will give you grace for the times when you slip.
Yes.
And you're not being who you want to be. But I think it's so important that we know that even when we're not being who we want to be, God sees who he made us to be, and he's calling that out of us. Like he's calling you into your future. He wants you to come be there and be the person,
Yeah.
And it's not because I have found this. I feel like it's not because he's so mad at you when you sin and he has all these rules and he's just waiting for you to break one so he can say, it's not that. It's because he knows that the consequences that come from doing those things are bad for you.
Yes.
And he loves you. And so he does not want to see you do that to yourself because you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
So there's some things that we're going to have to deal with in life because we have created that mess.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's more about, God doesn't just look at us like, I can't believe you did that. Why can't you get it right? It's more like, gosh, why do you keep doing this to yourself? I love you. Just try it my way.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, so what are some of those consequences that you had to deal with? Like some of those charges that you had, all that, your family, your children. Tell us about some of the restoration process.
So probably when I first got out, I had to face the judge for the pending charges that I had. Before I went to court, the public defender that I used said that they were offering a 10-year sentence. And so I was like, yeah, I don't think so. And so I told her, I was like, listen, I'm not that person anymore. I just completed a program. I'm doing jail ministry. And so she's like, well, I'll let the DA know, but you're a habitual violator, which means I was charged with the same charge 4 times over the period of my life. And so I went to court and I went before the judge. And the judge gave me time served as well as 2 additional years on probation. And that in itself is just, speaking to God's grace and mercy and the power of change. I also had the DUI that was pending. I went before the judge for that, and they dropped the DUI and just gave me a fine. So I don't have any points on my license. My insurance didn't go up. None of that. So I got custody of my oldest son back probably within 3 months of graduating from the program. And so my youngest son, he didn't even know who I was up until I think I was in the program for about 9 months before I started meeting with him again. And then probably 6 months after the program, I was awarded joint custody of him. And I had a steady job, which was also a miracle in itself because I hadn't worked for so long.
Yeah.
I went forward and I got my certified peer specialist certification. So basically, it's a certification that the state of Georgia has said, you know what? There's power in peer support.
Mm-hmm.
There's power in working along someone who has also suffered the same thing that you've suffered.
Yeah.
And so I got that certification. I also became a certified forensic peer mentor, which is also a certification given by Georgia for those who have lived experience with the criminal justice system. So that degree, certification, you can work in prisons, with probation, with parole, simply because you are a justice-impacted individual. And so that's basically God saying, you know what? You went to jail, but that's okay because you can help other people in jail.
Yeah.
And so I ended up working for a community service board in the state of Georgia. I work with kids who have mental health, behavioral health, substance use challenges. I'm like a mentor. I can sit alongside them and say, hey, listen, it's not your fault what happened to you, but it is your responsibility to make sure that you break this generational curse, you know? And gosh, there's just so many things that God has done for me. I got married, which is also a miracle in itself, because when you've been in addiction as long as I have, you don't even know what love is.
Yeah.
And so God restored my family. He restored my heart. He restored my work ethic. He restored every single aspect of my life.
Wow. So to think back when all this started when you were a teenager and all the things that you've been through, and to see where you are now, and whereas there for years you didn't work, you relied on other people. Now you're on this career path. You're in school now too, right? And what is this? What are you going to be able to do after you get this degree?
So when I complete everything, I'll be a social worker.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And how neat is it to think that you wouldn't be doing that if you had not been in some of the places that you have been?
Yeah.
You know, but it is because of that very thing.
Yes.
That now you can relate to people. Now you can have more compassion with people and you can understand. And also you can be a great example to them, like you can overcome.
Yes.
You can get out of this lifestyle that you're in. It doesn't have to be the end of your story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Candice, this is the part of the show where I ask everybody the same question. How did going through all of this make you better?
It made me better because I had to wholeheartedly learn to trust in God. Because if I had leaned on my own understanding, I wouldn't even be a fraction of the woman that I am today. Because in my testimony, there's a specific part that I feel is vital. There's only one woman in the Bible that God tells us to remember, and that's Lot's wife. And she was turned into a pillar of salt for looking back. And so every time I want to look back, I have to remind myself there's nothing back there.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing back there. And so I have learned that every single day that I choose to be obedient and continue to walk forward in God's will, that I'm going to keep seeing the fruition of His promises. You know, and it's not even, I know that I don't deserve anything that God has ever given me, but He's a good daddy, you know, and He wants to give us things. He wants to bless us. And every single day I wake up and I'm not sick from the lack of drugs or sick from the use of too much drugs. And I have the overly chaotic schedule of having to get the kids to school and go to the doctor and go to work and do schoolwork. Like, those are blessings.
Yes.
You know,
so just a very basic, normal, everyday mom life and wife life is such a blessing.
It is.
When you don't have the drama.
Yes.
And the trauma.
Yes.
And all of that. You are right. Just to be able to get up every day and go to work get up every day and, do laundry, cook supper, all the things.
Yes.
It's like, this is a blessed life. It is work.
Yeah.
But look at what it used to be and look at what it is now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just to have that normal, I'm not dealing with getting arrested,
Yes.
all those kinds of things. It's like, man, I'm living the dream now. This is like such a regular life.
It's normal, I mean, it's chaotic, but it's normal chaotic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And I think too, if we can talk about this for a minute, how you were made better besides just obviously not using the substances anymore. That's just the top layer.
Yeah.
It's what goes deeper than that, how you were made better. Your character, your inner man, who you are on the inside. That's what it is. That's what we're talking about, is made better, because honestly, you could stop using. You can be clean. You can have some years clean.
Yeah.
And still be miserable.
Absolutely.
Still not be living the life that you're living. So all the work that you did in the program, a hand up, all the work that you've done in Celebrate Recovery, do you have any piece of advice for anyone in the same position, going through the same thing? Maybe they're still using, maybe they've stopped. But even though that's a great accomplishment, and I'm not taking anything away from that, but that it still isn't the inner work that you need to have that joy, peace, love, and all that, the life that you are living today. You could have stopped using, but still not be where you are today. So do you have any advice, or can you explain like how you sort of arrived at this place where you are today?
So I do. Most importantly, find a support system. Find women. If you're a woman, find men if you're a man, who you can share your struggles with. Get honest with yourself. Get honest with others. Because I think sometimes it's easy to say I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say I'm fine, you're not being honest, And so I found women that I can reach out to and I can just explode. And they're like, okay, so let's kind of see, did you react in a way that is edifying?
Yeah.
Did you exemplify the love of Christ in that moment? And it's so recognizing those small moments where I can be a better person, and then putting those into action and just loving others where they are, not where I want them to be. I think that's so important, because it's easy when someone comes in off the street and they're still struggling with some of the behaviors from addiction. It's easy to judge them. It's easy to say, well, why can't you live a better life? Or why can't you see that drugs are going to ruin your life? Until that person really wholeheartedly knows who they are in Christ, they don't think that they deserve the life that Jesus wants to give them. So it's just loving them where they are. Be gentle with yourself, knowing that if you were in addiction for years, just a small amount of time is not enough to erase all of that. You're going to have to let go of the behaviors. You're going to have to surrender sometimes every single minute.
Yeah. I think that's so good, because we didn't talk about this. Like, when you are numbing with alcohol or other drugs, you don't know how to do life without that. And so every time somebody makes you mad, every time you're stuck in traffic or whatever is going on in your life, a medical problem, a problem at work, a bill that's too big for you to pay right now, whatever it is that you're dealing with in life, it's like you have to learn how to function and deal with those things and take those things as they come and have a response and not just a reaction.
Yes.
Because now you're not dealing with it in the way that you used to, which was avoiding, numbing, and all that. And you have to learn a new way to do things, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, it's almost as though you're literally having to learn how to be an adult.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's where a hand up comes in. That's where
Yes.
things like Celebrate Recovery, getting in a good church, and being humble enough to get somebody to come alongside you and say, I'm messed up and I need somebody to help me. How do I get there?
Yes.
And we have to take that help, though. We
Yes.
have to learn how to redo things sometimes. And like she said, it's like learning to be an adult. And we all are in that situation sometimes. I think whether we have um, been caught up in addiction or not, we have our way of doing things. But sometimes there is a better way. And you know what? His name is Jesus.
Absolutely.
So whatever it is in your life that you have been doing your way, try God's way. I think that's what he's trying to tell us through this episode is try my way. I love you. I see that you are suffering the consequences of these things that you are doing. And I'm just telling you, if you will listen to me, if you will read my word, learn who I am, grow closer to me, put your trust in me, then I am going to lead you through these open doors that I want you to go through. And I'm not going to just remove everything from your life that's difficult, but I am going to use those things to shape you and mold you and make you better. So, Candice, thank you so much.
Welcome.
I just love this. This is so awesome. I've so enjoyed our talk today. And thank you guys for listening to the Make Me Better podcast.